swear, I will never get used to. I,
Open your eyes.
I'll never get used to Zelda being like British. I mean, I know it makes sense to some extent. You know, a lot of royalties often depicted, you know, like that. So, but it's just so funny. I mean, I don't know what I thought she would sound like. I don't know. Maybe she have a Boston accent. This is Breath of the Wild, and we are playing. All right, where are we doing? What are we doing? Where the fuck do I go? This is where I started. Okay, so this is where I'm going. Okay. I swear it's gonna be weird as hell trying to figure out, like, you know, since the button on the PlayStation controller is obviously different than the Nintendo controller, but
take it.
it's gonna be odd because the cross, the X is B, and the circle is A. So this is odd. All right, so Sheikah Slate. Let me grab that. You know, I'm curious. I'm curious for TikTok Live Police just joined. Hello. You know, I'm curious for a lot of y'all that when they first announced Breath of the Wild, like, how did a lot of y'all feel? I guess the ones that were used to like traditional Zelda games. Like, I know I've heard a lot of mixed opinions. Like, some people are like, okay, yeah, this is interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes. But then I see other people are like, you know, where's my Twilight Princess style? You know, where's my Ocarina of Time style? And, like, you know, that's valid. You know, that's super valid. I do understand where people are coming from with that. All right, we got some clothes. All right. I know this is a tutorial, so I gotta get through this. But I have seen at least a tutorial before. All right, wasn't there another one? No, that was not that. All right, so jump is triangle. That's so weird. That's weird as hell. All right,
Hold the Sheikah Slate up to the pedestal. That will show you the way.
I think it's so funny that like when Modern Zelda, like one of the first things they do is just give Link a tablet. And we just go from Skyward. I think Skyward Sword was the last 3D Zelda before Breath of the Wild, I believe. Was it? Yeah, because Twilight Princess is before that. It was on the GameCube and on the Wii. And then Skyward Sword is on the Wii as well. And then years later, and then the Breath of the Wild, yeah. Yeah. Because Breath of the Wild's on the Wii U, and then it also came out on the Switch at the same time, so. I think I owned it on the Wii U, but my brother played it. I didn't play it, though. I just watched him play. I was kind of in my Zelda hater mode.
You are the light. Our light. That must shine upon Hyrule once again.
They said they need my skill set. Okay. All right. How do I run? Okay. So sprint is B. Oh, so I sprint with X. Okay. All right. This is gonna be weird, man. It's gonna be weird as hell. This game is still as pretty as I saw it the first time. Also, you remember when Genshin Impact first came out and everybody was calling it ripoff of Breath of the Wild? Which, you know, I mean, it definitely, you know, copied some ideas for sure. Like, you know, the open world, the style of the way the open world was done in the stamina system. It was like, I felt like it was ripped for sure. But I think in the beginning of Genshin Impact, they even have a shot overlooking the valley, I think, even still. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I like Genshin Impact though. I still be playing it every now and then. I just took a long break from it though. Where we going? Oh, you gotta follow that guy. Oh yeah, we gotta do all this. Oh yeah, we gotta do all this busy work to get the paraglider. Like I said, I did play the tutorial at least. Oh, one met stranger. Who are you? Are you not chilly? I mean, by yo, Link's answers in this game are low key kind of rude, bro. Answering a question with a question, that is fair enough. As I can't imagine our meeting to be a simple coincidence, I'll tell you. This is the Great Plateau. Okay. Oh, that temple there, ever since the decline of the kingdom 100 years ago, it has sat abandoned in a state of decay. Yet another forgotten entity, a mere ghost of its former self. Just like me. I shall be here for some time. Please let me know if I may be of service. Alright. What you finna do, though? What is this? I beg your pardon. I don't believe that. I do believe that is my baked apple. You can't just go around taking shit as you please. I mean, he didn't say that, but. Oh, forgive me. I couldn't resist pulling your leg. Man, get this. Please help yourself. An apple in an open flame make for a succulent treat. Bro, you want me to save the world or not? Bro talking about some don't take my fucking apple. Nigga, I need to eat, bro. Also, was there a shirt that I was missing? Did I miss the shirt? Why am I naked, bro? Wait, is there anything in my inventory? Oh, let me save. This is I can already tell this is gonna be a very interesting experience for all of us, but definitely me for sure. That's okay. Okay, you hold it and then you move the right analog stick. That's so weird though, bruh. That's so weird. All right. Oh yeah, if it's anything I do remember from Breath of the Wild is that no. Is that they had the weapon breaking. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I know they have that in other games too. Like Minecraft is definitely one of them. But at least in Minecraft, you know, if you get mending, you could fix that shit. What? Oh, Zelda talking to me? What?
Head for the point marked on the map in your Sheikah slate.
How would you even know that? All right, check the Sheikah slate. Okay. Wait. Let me just beat his ass first. Sure, surely you can understand, Zelda. Let me grab his club. The botw club. All right. Got him. Oh, wait, he's not dead. Boom! Easy money. All right. Oh, we got a bokoblin horn. Okay, sure. All right. Go to the place marked on my map. Okay. All right, let me pull up the. This is so weird. You press the share button on the PS5 controller to open up the Sheikah slate. Okay. We're going here. All right, let's follow it. Okay. Gosh. Wait, no, you run with X. Okay. I keep trying to press triangle to run. That's not. I don't even know what game you would even do that on. Do I need these jellies? Oh. Okay. Choo-choo jelly. Okay. Let's get some more. All right. Where are we going? I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like if Zelda games started having like if they started having like level up systems, I feel like that'd be pretty cool. No, you didn't see me. All right. Oh, it's a shield. The botw shield. Was that a sword? Oh, a traveler's sword. Okay. Hey, hit him twice. You seen that? You seen that? The strats. The strats. Okay. Let me switch from this fucking web. Let me fix from this. How do I switch again? Oh, okay, there we go. Traveler sword. Let's try the club. In the club, we're all fam. Oh, okay. I have a shield. Wait. How do you parry? Oh, okay. It's ZR or L2 circle. All right, all right. Map on the Sheikah Slate. Yeah, yeah. All right. This is the place marked on the map. This is definitely the place. Okay. Place the Sheikah Slate and pedestal. All right. Well, go ahead, Link. Do that thing. So they got all this advanced technology, and yo, hey, what's good? What's good, Julie? How you doing, my friend? What's good? So glad you can make it. Thank you. Please watch for falling rocks. All right, so for anybody just coming in, we are playing some Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is like my first time giving it a real go. Like I said, I played a little bit of tutorial, but I never got really far in the game. I just wanted to give it a shot to just kind of give my, you know, just try to get more into the Zelda franchise. So that's what's going on. If you happen to stop by, you know, I'm open to any. You could definitely, any of y'all could definitely share some of your stories about you playing any of the Zelda games, or if you played this particular Zelda game and your thoughts about it. You know, without any spoilers, I guess. Just like you would be general, like just tell me how you felt about playing it and whatnot. Pretty good at work right now. Just want to drop in and say, hey, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you very much. Hopefully work goes smoothly for you today. Thank you. All right, so we have unlocked a giant tower. All right. Great Plateau Tower. Okay. Hey, thank you for the bit, Julie. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Distilling local information. There you go. Thank you very much. All right, what is that? Okay, so now we have the map. Great. I wonder if we'll, in real life, I wonder if we'll ever figure out how to, like, how do I say it? I wonder if we'll ever figure out how to like convert technology into like liquid. We could just drink it and we could just learn a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we could enhance Gatorade and our electrolytes. You know? Remember. Try to remember. I just don't have clothes on.
Asleep for the past 100 years.
That's crazy. I don't even look a day over like. I don't even look a day over 20.
When the beast regains its true power, this world will face its end.
Thank you, ass bro. So the beast will gain this. So the beast will gain its power again. I slept for 100 years. Why they ain't destroy the year? Why they ain't destroy the? Why they ain't destroy the Earth 100 years ago? When I was down.
Before it's too late.
All right. I got you, Zelda. Let me just get some clothes back though. All right. All right. So follow the Sheikah Slate. That's the main quest. How the fuck do I get down from here? Oh yeah. Okay. So let me look at the map. There. This is the Shrine of Resurrection where I started. This is the Great Plateau. You can fast travel there. Great. And then we have Forest of Spirits, Great Plateau. Mount Hylia, Eastern Abbey. All right, this is gonna be very interesting. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Do I die? No, just climb down. Okay. If I jump. Oh, okay, I didn't lose all my health. Okay, great. But will I lose my? Oh no, I could just fall. I just fall down. Okay. Okay. So what? Don't call me a hoe, you bitch. My. It would seem quite the enigma here. This tower and others just like it have erupted across the land, one after another. It is almost though a long dormant power is quite awoken suddenly. If you don't mind me asking, did anything odd occur while you were atop that tower? Yeah, I heard a little voice, you know what I'm saying. Well now, a voice you say. And did you happen to recognize this mysterious voice? No? I see. Well, that is unfortunate. I assume you caught sight of that atrocity enshrouding the castle. Oh, I can't read my. That is Calamity Ganon. 100 years ago, that vile entity brought the kingdom of Hyrule to ruin. It appeared suddenly and destroyed everything in its path. So many innocent lives were lost in its wake. For a century, the very symbol of our kingdom, Hyrule Castle, has managed to contain that evil, but just barely. There it festers, building its strength for the moment it will unleash its blight upon the land once again. It would appear that the moment is fast approaching. So what am I gonna do about it, though? I must ask you, courageous one, do you intend to make your way to the castle? I mean, I guess. I feel like I don't feel like I have a choice, bro. I had a feeling you would say that. Yeah, I bet you did. Here on this isolated plateau, we are surrounded on all sides by steep cliffs, no way down. If you were to try to jump, well, no death could be more certain or more foolish. Of course, if you had a paraglider like mine, that would be quite another story. Hand it over. Oh, certainly, why not? But there's no such thing as a free item in this world, you know. I mean, I picked up a couple of sticks and apples. That was free. Let's see now. How about I trade it for a bit of treasure that slumbers nearby? Okay. The isolated plateau, the main quest. Okay. Oh boy. Love this game. Yeah, what's good? What's good, KO Rian? What's good, brother? Long time no see. Hey, come, let me show you something. Oh, I gotta follow him. All right, we're walking. Ho, 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 come, boy. Let me show you. All right, okay. Do you see that structure there? The one shining with the strange light. It began glowing at the same exact time that the towers rose from the ground. Not much, bro. I'm about to finish up my shift in about an hour. Hey, that's what's up. Okay, all right. Hopefully it's a smooth hour for you. Probably just a chill listening to the stream. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I would think such a place might house some sort of treasure, wouldn't you? I mean, that is certainly a leap of logic. I mean, yeah, it looks strange, but like, not necessarily. Treasure for the power glider, a fair exchange, I believe. All right, bro. Bro's kind of doing his busy work and shit. Whatever, though. And of course, I got to go through a bunch of bokoblins to get there. That's just great. I mean, they have treasure, but it's too many of them to fight altogether. So what do? I'm definitely going to save, that's for sure. Let's save that. What to do now, though? Maybe I could pull this one away. Hold up, don't I have a stick? How do I? Okay. Oh, I do have a stick. Okay. So what if how do you throw sticks? How do you throw sticks? Okay. All right. So maybe I could just throw this and. Okay. So that obviously didn't work. Okay. So now I have to just go ahead and use myself as a. Wait, what? Oh shit, they see me! Ah! They all see me! I just threw one stick, bro! Come on, bro! Sword. I guess I'll use the club. I mean, isn't this about to break? Fuck it, we'll use the axe. Alright. No. Oh, okay, it hurt, but it didn't hurt that bad. Ah, shoot. Now it's two of them now. Wait, no, don't reset, no! Yes. Come here, you bitch. All right, that's one. Okay, I just got a shield, okay. All right, got him. Got him. Wait, I didn't mean to knock that down. That's cool though. All right. Oh, it's a bow. Let's get that. Pick it up. The botw bow. Okay. Hey, well, what was the name of that Sonic X character? Was the name botw bow or something like that? I think. How do I get this person down? I don't have any bows. I don't have any arrows. I have bows. Damn. No. Okay, I missed. Oh gosh, he almost slugged me like crazy. All right. Okay, so that I won, and now I get the treasure. Let's go. All right, it's lit. All right, where we go? This is a tree branch. I don't want that. Nor do I need it. I may have to change the controls around. It's just interesting, because what does circle do? I mean, I know circle allows me to do the parry thing, but like, and square is attack. But oh yeah, if you're just coming in, I'm using a PS5 controller to play on my Switch, by the way. You know, this is just a thing you can do. I mean, try it. You should try it. Maybe it might work for you too. Oh, there's another traveler sword. Okay. Well, I mean, that's always great. Aim to throw. Okay, so it's R1 to throw and then R1 to release. Okay, sure. All right. So where's the treasure? It's over there. All right. Do I want to go in the water? Do I want to go in the water? Will I die? Do I have enough stamina to swim this? All right, I guess we'll find out. It's like Genshin Impact, everybody. And then I could dash. I'm pressing the jump button, which is triangle. All right. Oh, what's this? Link is my fanboy. It's crazy. I mean, hey, more power to you, my friend. A ruby. What is that used for? All right. So we're going into the Ohio Shrine. It definitely says something different, but I did not read it. I'm not even gonna hold you. I didn't read what it said. Travel gate registered to map. Okay. Access granted. Great. I can skip it by pressing triangle. Okay. So now I'm in a shrine and I need to get this treasure for this old man as well. Let me get off this damn rock so I could actually start my journey. So yeah, you know, I just woke up today after 100 years. So, you know, how are you doing? You know, just everyday type shit, you know? To you who sets foot in this shrine, I am Omen. I am Omen Al. Omen O Shrine. All right. Oh man, I'm gonna get cooked. All right. You know, it's interesting that they initially cooked this up to be used with the Wii U and it's in its tablet controller. Which, listen, I know Wii U didn't sell well and whatnot, but I love the Wii U tablet controller, and I think it worked pretty well, being like a Sheikah Slate, because I have the Legend of Zelda Wii U, and I think it looks really cool. Oh, Magnesis. Oh, all right, we got powers now. Use the selected rune by pressing L1. Okay, sure. All right, so let's do that. So we use L1 to activate it, and then press circle to move it. And you can cancel it by pressing X. All right. All right, so now we have this right here. You can push and pull it by using the D-pad. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, damn. Can I climb this? I could. Oh, is that enemy? Oh, no. Wait, no, no. Oh, my axe broke. Oh, shit. Let's use a Boku Club. Got him. GG's. Oh yeah, I am not looking forward to fighting the Guardians. The Guardians gonna whoop my ass. But maybe I got better at the game. Maybe I will learn how to do the maybe I'll learn how to do the what's name? The parry this time. All right, what are we doing? Oh no, okay, so you go here, right? And then you pick this up. What? No, bro. Pick that shit up. Pick it up, put it down. Easy. And then we use the magnet to open it out. Yeah, there you go. Wait, no. Okay, examine. I've always loved, it's just a little me thing. I might be a little weird, but I always loved how many like little icons that it shatters into. It's always looked really good to me. I don't know, like very satisfying in a sense. I am the humble monk, blessed with the sight of the goddess Hylia, and dedicated to helping those who seek to defeat Ganon. Well, that's me. With your arrival, my duty is now fulfilled. In the name of the goddess Hylia, allow me to bestow this gift upon you. Okay. A spirit orb, an orb of courage given to those who overcome the challenges of the shrine. All right. May the goddess smile upon you. Sure. Can y'all hear the game, by the way? Just make sure I need to. Wasn't sure if I need to turn it up or not. Just let me know. Or if it's too low. Okay. Loading times. I really need to get a Switch too when I can afford it. So I can play this on the Switch. All right, bro. Yeah, I can hear it. Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Okay, good. It seems you managed to get your hands on a spirit orb. How did you know that was a spirit orb though? Clairvoyance, or perhaps something similar. Man, you're fucking with me, bro. As one gets older, it becomes more difficult to see what is right before one's own eyes. However, that which was once hidden can now be viewed often from that which was hidden from view can be often crystal clear. But perhaps that is not true for everyone. Ho ho. No, it's not. If you know, you know. The appearance of those towers and the awakening of the shrine. Did you just say a shrine has hit the second tower? It is all connected to the Sheikah slate that you carry on your hip. I got that iron on my hip. All right, what do you mean? It's been quite some time since I have seen that Sheikah slate. Long ago, the highly advanced tribe known as the Sheikah inhabited these lands. The great power of their wisdom saved this kingdom time and time again. But their ancient technology disappeared long ago, or so it is said. It is interesting, however, to think how something like that survived all this time, hidden away in a shrine. These shrines are tucked away in numerous places all across this land. On this plateau alone, I believe there still may be 3 more. Bring me the treasure from each of those shrines, and I will give you my paraglider. That wasn't the deal. Oh, well, I suppose I changed my mind. I'm sure you won't be a problem for a young go-getter like you. Man, fuck you, bro. It's some bullshit. Since I'm feeling generous, I'll also teach you a trick to finding the shrines. It's always best to survey the area by looking from a high point. Let's see here. How about you make that way to the tower again? Are you joking? Oh, surely not. I'm afraid not, but don't worry. I have another little trick to share with you for your effort. It's called fast travel, brother. Take a look at the map on your Sheikah slate. You see those blue icons? You should recognize the cave where you woke up, the shrine where you came from, and the tower. You can travel instantly to any of those places with the Sheikah slate. Or so I heard quite some time ago. Excuse me. I don't know if it actually works or such. Okay, so you heard this, now you're just telling me this, and then you're like, oh, you know, it may not be true though. But like, why you even telling me that then? All right, here we go. Yo, thank you for the follow, Holy Von Moley, excuse me. Thank you for the follow, my friend. Welcome to the Odachi clan. We love large swords. Pause. All right. Okay, so we need to find the next shrine. Does anybody see a shrine? I see a shrine over there. Okay. Like, does anybody see a shrine there? There's another tower over there too. I mean, it would definitely be wise to awaken all the towers. Just so I can fast travel closer. But I only have 3 hearts, bro. Have you found any holy spots in Hyrule yet? Well, I found one, and he said that there's 3 more. So you know, we're on our way. We're on our way to getting those spots. We have the magnesis power. Yeah, that. And I need to go to the next shrine. I need to activate that tower. I don't have any food though. I mean, I think the shrine healed me, because I definitely got hit by a bokoblin. Is that a bokoblin? No, that's just food. All right, where you going, buddy? No, it's too fast. Okay. Okay, where is the shrine? I think that's where I came from. Where was I going? That's the tower, and I was heading in the direction of a shrine, but now I think I may have lost it. But I don't want to fast travel back to the tower just to walk back here again. So I'm just gonna keep going. Excuse me. All right. Do I even have the stamina to climb this? All right. All right, here we go. Here we go. So enough about Link. How is your day going, by the way? Holy, how's your day going? Just climbing this big old rock. You know, I will say it was a pretty interesting thing when I found out in this game you could jump on your own, because you know, for the longest, Legend of Zelda has always had that auto jump shit. Can I make this? Wait, no. Fuck. And I know there's some inclines that you can stand on. Bro. Oh my god, I ran out of stamina. All right. Maybe I can stand on this right here. Right? Okay. Regain my stamina. Day is gone good. If you go to the tower, you may find a way of mapping the shrines. Okay. All right. Well, I will try that out when I get to the when I do find this shrine and I go back to the tower. I will try that out. All right. First, can I make this? Ooh, whoa. No. Okay. I mean, I feel back to the same part. How did oh, gosh. I need more stamina, man. There's got to be some ancient knowledge that I can get to make this. I mean, actually, I might be able to make it if I go slow. All right. Actually, we're gonna make it, y'all. We're definitely gonna make it. Okay. All right. So we made it up here. Is there any shrines up here? Maybe I need to go higher, perhaps. Because this is definitely where I was talking to the old man at. The area. I'm not close to the shrine. No, I started over here. Yeah, I am close to where I was. Okay. All right. No, I don't want to travel there though. Okay. Let me go higher. Wait, what is this? No, this is the shrine. Okay. Maybe if I go up here, maybe I'll find another shrine. No, no. Okay. All right, that may not be a good place to climb, but this might be it might be a better place to climb. All right, there we go. There we go. I reclaim my stamina. All right, and okay, it's over. Oh wait, it's cold over there. Oh, that's gonna be a problem. All right, I forgot. It's cold and shit over there. I'm definitely gonna freeze to death before I even get there. What the fuck to do? What do I do? If I remember correctly from playing the tutorial, I think I think there's plants that you can get that may make you warm enough. But I don't know if that's enough. Oh shit. Oh shit. Ah! There's three of these motherfuckers. Okay. Let's pull out. Let's pull out. No. What's my weapon? Oh, the club. Okay. Ah. Oh, they come back to life? Oh, no, they died. Okay. All right. Let me grab this. Have just started playing this. It's, let's see. Have just started playing this. It's got the potential of taking hundreds of hours. There's so much to do. Oh, you know, this is definitely not something we're gonna play in one session. This is definitely something we'll play over time in between other games for sure. And until we finally beat it, and then we'll finally start on the next Legend of Zelda game for sure. I'm enjoying it though. You know, just taking it slow, I guess. And but I'm not trying to take it too slow. But you know, just see where we can go from here. I can't wait to get some better clothes though, because I don't know why I don't have clothes. Wait, didn't I pick up clothes? Oh shit, I'm already cold. No, Link! He's already cold. All right. Where's my clothes at? Oh, there we go. I don't know why the fuck I didn't put on clothes. Okay, so now we have clothes. Let me save again. Does this game have autosave? Or is only autosave when big moments happen? Oh, there's a shrine over there. Okay, I don't even have to go to the shrine. I mean, I would like to go to that shrine up there, but realistically, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to brave the cold. Oh, there's more bokoblins down there. Let's just go to that shrine over there. All right. Let's go over there because I don't want to get out of the water and go straight to a wall where I'm definitely gonna fall off and drown. So. Can I make it? Okay, I made it. I just made it. All right. Was there something in here? No, I guess not. All right. Where's the shrine at? That's the old shrine. Where's the new shrine? Oh, it's right there. Okay. I keep forgetting I could run. I realize not everything is walking. You know. I wish I had that motorcycle. All right. So let me see if I can do this technique. How the fuck do you do it? You run, jump, and then attack. Goes like that. There we go. Also, my vocal club is going to it's gonna break. So that's just great. Oh, there's a shrine up there too. That's not the shrine I was looking at, right? Is that a shrine? That is a shrine. Okay, so there's two shrines nearby. Oh fuck oh fuck them. Oh gosh, I don't want to walk through there because I don't want to die just yet. Let me save it because this might get a little hard, you know. All right. I'm just a simple. I'm a simple. Fuck. No, I was trying to avoid this. No, my shield broke. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I made it through. I made it through. All right. I gotta. Where's my shield? Oh, this is my shield. Okay. Where is it? Where's the shrine? Oh, no, it's right here. Oh gosh. I forgot about the guardians about to fuck my shit up. Wait, is this a shrine? No, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Jai Baj shrine. Where's the front? Okay. Alrighty. Yep. Not I gotta learn the timings of the parry for the guardians again. This is gonna be rough. They already broke my first shield. Oh boy. All right, skip. The bomb trial. Oh great. I love the bombs. Up the authenticated distilling rune. I wish you could skip this though. Like after you see the first animation of that for the first shrine, I feel like you should be able to skip that too. All I'm saying is Breath of the Wild Definitive Edition. You know what I'm saying? It would be nice. It'd be nice. All right. Remote bomb. A bomb that can be detonated remotely. All right. All right. Press and hold, and you can switch. Oh, you can change routes by pressing no, by pressing up. There we go. All right. Magnesis remote bombs. Okay. So let me throw a bomb. All right. So you throw with R, and you detonate it with L. All right. Nope. All right. Let's try the square ones. Oh, bro. I'm so trash, bro. Oh my gosh. Oh my lord. My lord. Wait. Oh, okay. I was like, is there no way to get back up? I just blew my shit up to sky high, bro. Oh my gosh. Hopefully there's no enemies, because this is not gonna be good. Oh no. Okay, they're showing me how to do it. Okay, so let me go ahead and put the bomb in here. Oh no, that's a square one. Now Link, come on, bro. How do I just drop it? I mean, that's how you let it go, but... Oh, okay. Oh. I might have to do another one. All right. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay. So now, I think... Oh no, there was another one, right? Can I fling myself over there? I too am a bomb. Let's go! Wait, am I gonna die? Okay, no. All right. Amber. What does that do? All right. Okay. Oh, that was it. Okay, sure. All right, there we go. Easy money. You know, light work, no reaction. Easy. You know what I'm saying? I never struggled a single time. All right. All right, we can skip all that. We got another spirit orb. It's lit. All right, yeah. May the goddess highly, you know, style on you, whatever she says. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing, people. All right. Let's see you push a P. Let me see you push a T. All right, so we're healed, right? All right, we are healed. All right, so now we got two. Count them. We got 2 spirit orbs. We got 2 more spirit orbs to get, and there was another. Oh, this is okay. There's a chest up here. The Nintendo Switch shirt. Wait, what? Shit. Let me go and put on put on my Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch trademark shirt for Link. All right, let's go put it on. All right, so we just rocking Nintendo Switch stuff. All right, yeah. Our Nintendo, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Okay, all right. Where's the other shrine at? I saw the other shrine. I saw the other shrine. Oh, I did not mean to fall down here. Let me climb back up. All right, this is one shrine, and there was another shrine up the. Oh, there it goes right there. Okay, it's up the hill. All right. Oh no! Ah! I am not trying to deal with that right now, bro. Ah, there's two of them now. Okay. All right. All right, here we go. What is this? No, get down. Oh my lord, this game be tripping, man. Cause like I mean I know I think eventually they have combat trials where they teach you what to do with that, but like how would one even deal with that in the beginning? I mean I guess you could they made it so you could run away, you know. I guess that's why you're supposed to do that, but I don't know. That's a steep ass mountain. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to climb that up. I do not know how to do the strat where I think if you run and do this Link's whistle, you could keep your speed. I don't know how to do it though. I think I've seen somebody doing it once. Pot lid. I think that could be used as a shield. I don't have any food. Oh, a torch. Wait, would a torch keep me warm in the other area? What is this? Spicy peppers. Oh, the spicy peppers. Right. What is this? Old man's diary. Read. On this decade plateau. Oh no, that's not what it says. On this desolate plateau, the only pleasure that brings me comfort is cooking. And today I outdid myself. Truly, I created the perfect dish. I call it spicy meat and seafood fry. This recipe not only restores health, but it keeps me warm even when traveling in the snowy mountains. Oh, when traveling in the snowy mountains. Gotta keep mind of that. All right. Yeah. No. Okay, so I need meat and I need peppers. All right. Well, good to know Link. Good to know Link can still pick up shit and throw it. Oh, another spicy pepper. Great. Baked apple. Sure. Stamella shroom, a green mushroom that's chock full of energy. Oh, you could eat it for stamina, I think. All right. I know I don't have any meat. What is this? Hylian shroom, a common mushroom around here. Eat it to restore half a heart. All right. Is that the old man? What the fuck is he doing over here? Oh shit, old timer. What you doing, man? Let's yap. Oh ho ho ho. Oh ho, fancy that. So we meet again. What are you doing? I thought this tree might be here for some good firewood. However, getting a tree to fall is not getting exactly where you want it. Excuse me. It's quite an art. The trick is to turn your hips so that they face where you want the tree to land. So I see you found my axe. Why not help you out and give it a few swings? I'm working up quite a sweat here, but these old bones could use a break. Sure, bro. All right, so what if I all right, so where my hips are facing, you know, I sure love my Nintendo Switch like that. All right, and now I'm gonna face towards that rock. I'm gonna hit the rock. Just to get my hips to look at the rock. Yeah. All right. This sure would be great if I had a power glider. I think I'll die if I go there. You think I can make this jump? Let me say right before I do this shit. Crazy shit. All right. Can I make this jump? Hashtag can I make this jump? Let's go ahead and see. All right, everybody. I'm going for it. 3. What is this? Karak leaf. Okay, sure. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I didn't make the jump. You know, and you know, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't try it. So, you know, we all learned something today. All of us. Everybody learned something, even you. Yeah. All right, so you can't make that jump. So now I have to, how the fuck? Do I actually, I have to climb this, but like, all right, fuck it. I guess we gotta fight some enemies. There's more goblins, but there is a treasure chest. So, I don't have any bows. Do I have any bows? I mean, I have bows. I don't have arrows though. No, I don't have any arrows. But let me go and eat this though. Yo, all right. Let's go and fight. But oh yeah, I can use bombs. Oh shit. No, you don't see anything. Oh fuck, they see me. All right, let me change my weapon real quick. Let's just use. I mean, this vocal club is almost done. All right, you know, let's just do this. Let's try the square one. I gotta say, quite just listening to the stream is quite entertaining. Hey, thank you. Oh no, I missed. Wait. I could kite him over. I'm gonna kite him over. Wait, come on. Boom! Got his ass. Boom! Hey. And you think we can make this jump? 1, 2, 3. We did not make that jump, by the way. We did not make the jump. But I guess you probably heard that part. Let me take that. All right. Here we go. Throw it. No, that's not what we. And Link screams 2 seconds later. Yeah, right? All right. Oh wait, it's R. No, how did that miss, bro? All right, I gotta take this guy out. All right, no, move. Boom, got his ass. I got hella boko bows. All right, let me sneak up on him. Where you going, buddy? Where you going, buddy? Huh? Where you going, buddy? Yeah, I got firepower. Yeah, yeah. Dance on him. Okay. And we unlock this chest. What are we doing? Oh, it's meat. Making some meat, cut. All right, here we go. What is this? Ooh, a throwing spear. Ooh, my inventory's full. Wait, no. Okay, so no. Who am I whistling to? All right. It's a vocal spear. I mean, I guess we don't really need this spear, right? So let me go ahead and throw this real quick. Link got quite an arm, golly. All right, I don't want to use this though. How would I? Oh, you just poke people with it. That's not okay. Let's go back to the vocal club. All right, so now we need to scale. We need to scale this, but actually, all we got to do is climb up a little bit and then climb over. All right. I probably should save it. Let me save it. let me save this. All right, I'm currently trying to climb this little chasm and see if I can make it. Hopefully I got enough stamina to last over here. Oh, but I have the stamina shroom, right? I can just eat that stamina shroom and get some more stamina back. See, they knew. I think I might be able to make this though. Then he wins the race. All right. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I know, like, you're getting tired, but just a little bit more, buddy. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. And we made it over to the other place that I could not jump before. So now we can climb this giant thing. And there's a bunch of footstools here. All right. So now I can just go on this up. All right. We made it there. Let's keep on climbing. Oh, what kind of shrooms are those? Oh gosh, what is this? Or mushroom, a mushroom that can grow almost anywhere but prefers ceilings and cliffs. Cook it before eating them. Remember to choose your speed. No, 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 no. Okay, I almost died, but I didn't, because I'm like that. All right, so let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing. Yeah. All right. Do I have another stream going on? No, I don't. For some reason, it didn't go off. So what if I just do this and then do that, and then it's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be a Breath of the Wild playthrough, and then yes. I guess I use same stream key. Will that work? Can I do that? What will that do? Give me 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second, and then we will return to play. Let me just 1 second, y'all. Did I do it? No, I didn't. I know I gave it to you months ago. I know you're trying to forget. Nothing, totally. My apologies. I'm gonna try to keep you back. So by tonight, the bar closes and the scene falling down. Carry me home. Night, we are young. So we set the world fire. Fire. All right. Did that work? No, it didn't. Okay. All right. Well, I have to test that out. It was working yesterday, but oh well. All right. Let's get back. Let's get back to the grinding, everybody. All right. So, last thing is we tried to climb up and we fell, but we're about to get right back at it. You know, get back on the saddle. You know how we do. All right. So this is the second foothold. We got a rush room, so if we cook with that, it will allow us to um it will allow us to move faster temporarily. I think I can stand here, right? Yeah. Mushroom. All right. So there is more footholds. There's another foothold up there, and then let's just keep going. There's a foothold right here that I can go to. Mushroom. Okay. That brother tired. Alrighty, so let's keep on pushing. I think I might be able to just make that work. Yeah, I think I might be able to make that work. Let me see. Can I make this? No, 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 no. The craziest part is I was just about to press the jump button to jump that last bit, and I just did it too late. My fault. My fault. So like we got our first death here, y'all. We have now died our first death. Unfortunate. All right, so let's keep it pushing. All right. I think we're still in the same one, right? Yeah, we are. Give me 1 second. You know, I was thinking, I was like, do I need to eat the stamina shroom? I was like, you know, maybe I could live without it, right? I could live. You know, I'm a liver, and it just turned out I wasn't. So, but this is the third shrine that we're going to, and then we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do for the fourth shrine. Okay, so let's eat that stamina shroom. Oh, oh, okay. Do y'all think that I could make this right now? Yes. Okay. We actually made it. Okay. Okay. I was about to be like, you know, you think we're gonna make it or we're gonna fall? But we actually ended up making it, thankfully. All right, let's keep pushing. All right, this is the Owa Dime Shrine. I wonder what language that is. It definitely sounds interesting. Yep. Alrighty. Am I calling me? Give me 1 second. I'm getting a call. One second. And we're back. All right. I think there's macaques out there. Ah! All right. Let's keep it pushing. There were definitely some bokoblins out there, or maybe it was the skeletons. I'm not sure. Okay, so which one is this? Oh, the stasis trial. Oh, aka one of the best runes ever. If you know how to use it. I don't know how to use it that well, but you know, I've seen things that you could do with stasis, and I am very impressed. Honestly, this game has a lot. This game has a lot of cool tech from some of the runs and stuff that I've seen. I don't think I'll be doing any of it though, because I'm a newbie, so I probably won't. All right, stop the flow of time for an object. Okay. All right. So stasis. All right. I could have stopped it at a better time. All right. Alrighty, so now we got something else. It's like, I don't need stations for this. It's easy. No, Link. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I might actually die. It's like, I don't need stations for this. I don't need stasis. I'm built different. Traveler's shield. Okay. I don't need no stasis. I'm gonna beat this whole thing without. Well, I used stasis once already, but oh, a hammer. Ooh, iron 12. Wow, that's strong. Oh, I can't. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this club. I already have another one, so wait. Let's switch back over to the other club to have. Oh, let me save it too, just in case I die. Because I do not want to have to do this again. All right, so I use stasis on this to do what? Oh, right, you can attack it, right? Yeah, move. Yeah, and move out the way, buddy. All right. Like, we are optimizing shrines already. Look at that. Only 2 stasises. that I had to do. One in the beginning and one at the end. I didn't need to stop stasis to get that chest. I'm too good at the game. It's like that. All right, in the game of the goddess Hylia, I now give you the spirit orb. All right, and now I'm full health, which is great. Yes. May the goddess shine upon you as you do your thing. Yeah. All right, so we got one more shrine to get, and then we will be getting that paraglider from that old mysterious old man that seems to know everything. I wonder who he is and what he knows, but he seems to know me. Oh shit. All right. Oh, okay. So it broke. I killed him though. Isn't this a weapon too? Yeah, it is. I can't carry any more melee weapons. No, let's stop time. What if I just... What if I just threw this though? How much damage does this do? Oh, 5. Okay, well, sure. We're gonna keep that. Okay, so now we got one more shrine to go, and that shrine just so happens to be in the coldest place on this whole damn place. So let's see. If you go to tower, we may find a way of mapping the shrines. Oh, right. I did say that I was gonna do that. How close am I to that ice place, anyways? By the way, let me check. Cause I may have to fast travel, over there if I'm not that close. Oh no, I am in the snow area. Okay, but where's the shrine at? I'm already getting cold. Okay. Oh shit, I'm already losing health. Oh shit. Ah! No, wait, no! Link! Wait! Do I have health? Food? I don't want to eat that. It's still cold over here too? Oh my gosh. All right, you know, maybe I should cook with some stuff. I think I have meat. Let me go cook. Am I still cold? No. The shrine is up there. Okay. So there happens to be a... Oh, brother. Oh, it is... Oh, wait. I know what I can do right here. You're still alive? Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. Ah! There's so many enemies. What the fuck is that? Oh wait, no. Oh wait. Oh, it's arrow. Okay, that's not what I was trying to get. Ah! Oh my gosh. All right. If I just kite around, I kite around. All right. All right. Run this way. Oh my gosh. No! They're gonna kick my butt! Oh, bro, where's my... Where, okay. All right. Okay, this is actually slow. Okay, I'm actually gonna die. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. We're doing all right so far. We're doing all right so far. It's getting a little tense. It's getting a little tense. All right. All right. All right. Did I do it? Oh wait. All right. All right. All right. All right. I think we might be good. I think we might be good. Oh, there's a few more people over there. Can't carry any more melee weapons. Okay. I'm just go ahead and hit you with one of these. All right. I think we might be good. Got some highly shrooms. Can we make any dishes? Oh, we got a bunch of spicy peppers. Okay. All right. So now we gotta cook up some dishes. This is the part where we cook. Oh, we got food here. Another stewed steak. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and play this little mini game real quick. Oh, let me save it. Cause that was actually crazy. I honestly thought I was gonna sell and I was gonna die, but I didn't. So I'm very glad that didn't happen. Very, very glad it did not happen. I did not sell and we did not die. And we actually lived. So, that's always great. That's always fantastic. So yeah, let's keep it pushing. Keep it pushing, my good peoples. All right. Oh, the fire's not lit anymore. Oh wait, but this is how we have torches, right? Okay, so let me just pull out my torch. How many torches do I have? I have one. All right, so we light my torch, and then we take it, and then we swipe it. Yeah. And then we swipe it. Yeah, there we go. And then there we go. All right. So now we can go ahead and cook. Sit. You can pass time by the fire. Wait, but how do I cook? What time is it anyways? Oh, it's nighttime. I think the enemies come out at night. I think that's what happened. So let me go ahead and cook the food. Food. So we have the seared steak. Not to eat. No, it's already cooked, so you okay. How do I cook it though? Materials. Hold. Oh, you could hold it. Okay. So you hold. And then I don't want to use too many of my spicy peppers. What happens if I cook these two things together? So let me say add. Cook. Hopefully I make no bullshit. Ooh, spicy and fruit and mushroom mix. And I have 3 minutes of cold resistance. Oh, that's good. That's really good, actually. You know what? I'm gonna go and make another one. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make another one. Actually, I could make more than one. All right. Well, I just said that. Stop holding. Cook. Skip. All right. All right. All right. All right. Now, I don't want to waste them, but I wonder if I put more in there, will that allow me to, you know, get more time or no? I don't know. I do want to find out though. I definitely would like to find out, but I don't want to waste my stuff though. You know what? I'll save it. I'll save it, and I can always load it afterwards. All right, let's see. Will this give me more time of cold resistance? Let's hold it, hold, and then 2 of these. All right, let's cook them all. Oh, 6 minutes. Oh shit. Hell yeah. Okay. Okay. So, let me just cook one more for the road. Okay, so now all together I have 3, 6, 9. No, so 3, 6, 9, and then 6 and 9 is 15. I have 15 minutes of cold resistance. Big brained. So I mean, I could have did this all at once. So I eat that again. So now I'm full. Okay, yeah, this is good. This is good. Okay, so now I can go. I could beeline straight for the thing, the paraglider, and we can get finally get the story moving, right? We can finally get the story moving. All right, so the entrance is there. Where it? First, let me map out where the shrine is so I can like get it together. Oh, there's more spicy peppers. Great. Let's eat. Scare all these. All right, the shrine is there. So I see it's like kind of like a straight path, or is it? No, is that water? Oh shit, no, that's water. Oh, it's definitely not a straight path. Okay, so let's go ahead and eat my first. Let's eat my first. What's the name? And let's keep it pushing. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and eat that. How much seconds does this give you? It'll help raise your body temperature, help you withstand the cold. But how much though? You can't recover any more hearts. Okay. Oh, okay. So I can't eat it until I actually start losing hearts. Okay, that's fine. All right. Let's keep it pushing. Once I lose hearts, I'll go ahead and eat one. I just want. I wonder how much. Is that a guardian? Oh fuck. What is this? A bundle of wood. You can use it to make a campfire. Okay, good. Okay. Oh, one more wood. And it's another. Okay, I can't carry that. Okay. I know if I jump in that water, I'm just gonna fucking die. I know that for a fact. I mean that makes most sense logically. How do I get over there? Because I don't have a paraglider. I see there's a boat there, but what would I do to get there? Wait a second. Let me think for a second. If I give myself cold resistance, can I swim in a cold lake? Do y'all think that makes sense? Does that make sense? If I give myself cold resistance, I can swim in a cold lake, or no? I mean, realistically, there's only one way for me to find out. You know, there's only one way for me to find out. But I was just curious. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do it. I mean, it couldn't hurt. I already saved it, so I'm just gonna go for it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, everybody. We're gonna do it, people. We are gonna do it. All right, here we go. Here we go. Liberty, 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 liberty. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and eat this. How much does that give me? Wait, no. I don't think that gave me any time, right? Let's save it. Okay. All right. Time to eat one of our cold things. Eat. All right. So now I have cold resistance. Can I swim in the lake? I can actually swim in the lake. No, I cannot swim in the lake. Okay. All right. Okay. So even if you have cold resistance, Link will still fucking die. So don't do that. So note to self: do not do that. Okay. I thought it was working. I thought it was working because I still was alive, but I guess it didn't. So what am I supposed to do though? I mean, maybe I can come around the side. I don't know. Maybe there's another side that I can go on that will allow me to live. Looks like there's another bridge there. They just couldn't make this easy, I see. Oh shit. Ice jelly. Alright, let's go eat our first one. Actually, I can see spicy peppers, right? Oh wait, no. I actually need to eat them. Alrighty. Alright, so we're moving across this frozen ass landscape to go ahead and get to that last shrine because I need that paraglider so I can finally get off this damn rock and start the game. I mean, I do think, I know Nintendo, like, they rarely do demos and shit or stuff, but like, I do think that a Breath of the Wild demo that was just the entirety of the Great Plateau, and then once you get the paraglider, the game says, all right, you have to go ahead and buy the game now. But like, I do think like a whole demo that'll be fire because that's like realistically that's like an hour or two of gameplay if you take a long time. But you know that's a good chance for somebody to really take a look at the game and kind of see what else you can do. If I'm being honest, that's pretty cool. All right, this bridge is working. Oh wait, no, this is what you use. Wait. Wait, I know I can use stasis here, but oh no, here it goes right here. Okay, all right, no, not stasis, magnesis. I mean that looks a little sketchy, but I'm just gonna go ahead and deal with it. All right, let me save it because I don't want to use my cold resistance stuff yet. I want to use it when I actually start moving towards the shrine. I'm a little stubborn, I guess. Okay, so we actually made it over here. So now, where's the shrine? Where's the shrine in relative to all of this? I know I have to climb this for sure. The shrine is probably at the top of the hill, so. All right, so now I have to. All right, so this is probably where I would definitely come in with one of these. All right. All right. So now I have cold resistance. What does this say? Okay. Okay. All right. I don't know why this was so hard last time. I'm like taking my time now, and it's like, it just feels like, you know, I'm learning so much. I mean, I got 3 minutes of time, and that I have 12 more minutes left after this. So, you know, I can take my time. Not that I will, but like, you know. Where's the shrine at, though? All right, so we are headed to the last shrine before the paraglider. All right, so let's keep pushing. I ended up making some food. That gives me cold resistance, so now I can climb up this mountain without having to worry about freezing to death. I found out that even if you eat cold resistance food and you jump in the lake, you'll still die, like instantly. So, you know, I guess it's realistic because, like, you know, you'll just freeze to death. So, you know, we're all learning things here. That looks like the shrine. No, that's not the shrine. That's just that's just a mountain. Where the hell is the shrine at? Oh, is the shrine up there? Yeah, the shrine definitely seems like it would be up there. All right, let's keep it pushing. I mean, low key. I mean, I guess I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad that I did do this one last. Glad I was able to get all the other ones first. I mean, now that I think about it, you had to do this one at least second because you had to get magnesis first. Yeah, you had to get magnesis first because there was no way that you were going to be able to there was no way you were going to be able to what's the name to survive without being able to move that bridge. So I mean, of course, unless you did like crazy strats, but this is not. No, this is not what I'm looking for. I enjoy great gazing out to the world below. Breathtaking view. You did well to make it this far without proper clothing. Please take this warm doublet as a reward. Oh shit! It has cold resistance. I assume you want to try it on anyway. Oh, okay. Oh snap. Okay, so now I got warm clothes. So now I have double cold resistance. That's lit. And now I look more like Link now too. You know, I mean, I just can't realistically see Link wearing some Nintendo Switch gear. I mean, even though it's Nintendo Switch TM, but you know, I just can't see it. All right, let me climb down here, and let's go ahead. Go to this last thing. I'm actually glad that I went up there. I don't think I knew about I didn't know about that before when I like played the tutorial. All right, so what will start happening now? Will I have cold resistance now that it's just going off? Oh, there's some more bokoblins up there. Let me eat some more health just in case. Eat some more peppers. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's keep it pushing. Oh, let me save it too. All right. Here we go. We are now going to the last and final shrine. We just got some few more enemies to deal with. What item do we have? Oh, we have a torch. Let's take that off and use the goblin arm. Oh shit. Wait. What's up, fuckers? That's not. Easy money. And I'm stealing our food. I know if I stood there, I would die. So let me just throw that. It blew up before I okay. It literally blew up before I even had a chance to do anything with it. All right, so let me take this and then we throw this at the bombs. Oh, okay, it didn't blow up. All right, sure. All right, here we go to the last one. The K Namut Shrine. Okay. All right, it's the last shrine, everybody. This is the final shrine, and then we get the paraglider. Here we go. Let me finish up the shrine, get the paraglider, and then we'll call it a day for today. Like I said, there's always more time to stream tonight, so yeah. I'll see y'all then. Or we'll stream tomorrow. Like I said, I'll definitely let y'all know. Or if you see a notification, you just come through. All right. Because there's a lot to do in Breath of the Wild, and we only just finished the tutorial, and it took us like almost 2 hours. So, hopefully everything else should speed up after this, though. Hopefully. All right, let's keep it pushing. All right, so Cryonis. Create a pillar of ice on a water surface. I mean, realistically, this is like the perfect rune for the area we were in. I mean, what else was it gonna be, right? You're not gonna get magnesis from the ice area rune, right? Okay. So Cryonis, you can go ahead and make a. Can I make it while I'm standing? Oh, I could. Okay, that's cool. Now, what do I do here? Oh no, you would make it under, right? Yeah. Yes, you're gonna make it under. That makes sense. Oh, okay. All right. I have a shield. Got him. Yeah, we parried that. Let's go. Ancient spring. We can probably make stuff out of that. All right. So now we're going to. Okay. Oh. So it's like a seesaw. So if I use Cryonis here, right? That make me go up here. All right. Oh, I guess it didn't matter. Oh wait, but I can use Cryonis here to get something. Oh, a traveler spear. Okay. But my inventory's full. What do I have? I mean, the traveler spear is somewhat kind of weak. I mean, I don't want to get rid of the torch because the torch I can use to light stuff, so it's always good to have. I mean, do I really need this Korok leaf? Oh, okay. Wait, but how do I get rid of it though? I mean, I guess I could just drop it. Okay. All right. All right. So now we're going to. Oh, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Okay. Okay. Let's keep it pushing. Your resourcefulness and trial speak to the promise of hero. Yeah, we could just skip all this. Now we have 4 spirit orbs. I wonder what we can do with these. May the goddess shine upon you. All right. Oh. All right. So now the old man is back, and now he's about to give you my paraglider. With this, you now have acquired all the spirit orbs from the shrines on the plateau. Oh, extraordinary. That means it is finally time. Link, it is finally time for me to tell you everything. But first, I imagine an X on your map with 4 shrines as the endpoints. Find the spots where those lines intersect. I shall wait for you there. Do you understand? Those 2 lines where the shrine's connecting there, I will be waiting. All right. Do I have the power glider though? So bro didn't even give me the power glider? Oh my gosh, bro. All right, well let's go ahead to where he was saying, so we can get this. All right. Oh, there's an X on the map. Okay. Oh no, that's where I died actually. Okay. The place where all the shrines intersect. I feel like I mean, it's definitely around this area. You know, the Temple of Time, perhaps. Let's just say we have to go there. All right. So the closest way to get there is to just definitely go to Shrine of Resurrection and just go there. Yeah, because I'm at one of the furthest places away. So let's go there. Fast travel. Ain't that fast? It's another loading screen. Okay, so now we're heading towards. I'm so glad we got this like what's the name, resistance stuff. Can I blow this up? Can I blow this up? Remote bomb? No, I can't. How did Link even get in the Shrine of Resurrection anyways? Who put me there? I have so many questions. All right. I mean, this makes the most sense to go to the castle. Oh, let me grab my apples. Alrighty. Oh, okay. Oh, I wonder, can I use a bomb there? I mean, that makes the most sense, right? What is this? Oh, there's a sword. But I mean, is it stronger than what I have right now? I mean, I guess. All right. So we got the sword, and then let me pull out my remote bombs, and then I can. Okay. Oh my god. Oh god. I literally almost ended myself on accident. Okay. All right. So let me try this again. What if I stand on the farthest edge and then I throw it? There we go. Oh, we unlocked something. Opal. Well, that's pretty. I'm really about to die. Well, I got apples. And I got some of these. Let me save it. So I don't have to do that again. All right. Now, mind you, this entire playthrough has been being played on the PS5 controller. You know, I'm playing this on my Switch, my actual Switch, because I don't have any Switch Pro controllers that are actually good. So, and it takes a little getting used to with the PS5 controller, but it's completely functional, and it honestly feels better than a Switch controller. All right. So let's go in here. Oh, it's a statue. Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't even notice that there was stuff here. Oh, a traveler's bow. Okay. All right. Is there any more chests around, perhaps? I can pray to this statue. And what is this supposed to do for me again? You can go to conquer the shrine to claim the spirit orbs. I can offer you great power. You claim 4, which means I can give me a heart container or a stamina vessel. Heart orbs or stamina vessels. Do y'all have any insight? Well, I mean, obviously they're both important, but like, which one should I in the early game? Which one should I focus on more? I mean, if I dodge enemies, I could not die, right? But but stamina makes it so I could do more things for longer, like climbing or running. But heart containers are important so I don't die in one shot. What to do? What to do? What to do? Since it's let me think. I think I'm gonna do heart container this time. I'm gonna do heart container. So now I have 4 heart containers. Your life force has been strengthened, increasing the number of hearts you by 1. All right, so now I got 4, so I can live a little bit longer. Okay, go and bring peace to Hyrule. Oh, okay, he's back. The blessing of the goddess has made you that much more resilient, I see. Here I am. Get up here quickly. But how, though? How am I supposed to get up there? I mean, I guess I can climb. Oh, there's a ladder. Oh, never mind. Oh, where is he? Maybe I should go up here then. I'm only on the roof. The roof is on fire. All right. Oh, he's up here. Okay. Here we go.
Well done there, young one.
Oh, it was voice acting. Okay.
Now then, the time has come to show you who I truly am.
Who are you,
I
old
was
man?
King Rome Bosphorus Hyrule.
King Rome Bosphorus.
I was
What a name.
the last leader of Hyrule.
Oh,
A
so what
kingdom
happened?
which no longer exists.
Oh, look at him, the drip. Okay, I see you, Mr. Bosphorus. Okay, I see you, brother.
The great calamity was merciless.
Yeah.
It devastated everything in its path. Lo, a century ago. It was then that my life was taken away from me.
Damn.
And since that time, here I have remained in spirit form. I did not think it wise to overwhelm you while your memory was still fragile. So rather than that, I thought it best to assume a temporary form.
And you thought some bum was that?
Forgive
Okay,
me.
sure.
I
Sure.
think you are now ready. Ready to hear what happened 100 years ago.
Oh, about to find out what happened in the Void Century, y'all. Shout out to all my One
To know
Piece fans.
Calamity Ganon's true form, one must know the story from an age long past. The Demon King was born into this kingdom, but his transformation into malice created the horror you see now. Stories of Ganon were passed from generation to generation in the form of legends and fairy tales. But there was also a prophecy.
Okay. A prophecy, he says.
The signs of a resurrection of Calamity Ganon are clear, and the power to oppose it lies dormant beneath the ground. We decided to heed the prophecy and began excavating large areas of land. It wasn't long before we discovered several ancient relics made by the hands of our distant ancestors.
Okay, it's the Sheikahs.
These relics, the Divine Beasts, were giant machines piloted by warriors. We also found the Guardians, an army of mechanical soldiers who fought autonomously. This coincided with ancient legends, oft repeated throughout our land.
Okay, so the Guardians and the Divine Beasts, okay.
We also learned of a princess with a sacred power, and her appointed knight, chosen by the sword that seals the darkness. It was they who sealed Ganon away using the power of these ancient relics. 100 years ago, there was a princess set to inherit a sacred power, and a skilled knight at her side.
I wonder who they were.
It was clear that we must follow our ancestors' path.
Okay.
We selected 4 skilled individuals from across Hyrule and tasked them with the duty of piloting the Divine Beasts.
I wonder who they are. That fella's
Princess is
huge.
their commander.
Golly.
We dubbed these pilots champions. A
Champions,
name
okay.
that would solidify their unique bond. The princess, her appointed knight, and the rest of the champions were on the brink of sealing away Ganon.
So what happened?
But nay. Ganon was cunning, and he responded with a plan beyond our imagining.
Damn. Oh, he took over the Guardians. I see. Oh, he took over the Guardians and...
He appeared from deep below Hyrule.
Oh, and the Divine Beasts? Oh, he literally turned everybody's stuff against them. That's how they beat us. Okay, that's a little crazy. Bro played the Uno reverse card.
Lost their lives. Those residing in the castle as well. The appointed knight bravely collapsed while defending the princess. And thus, the kingdom of Hyrule was devastated absolutely by Calamity Ganon.
I see.
However, the princess survived.
How?
To face Ganon alone.
Link, you are our final hope. The fate of Hyrule rests with you.
Wow. I mean, shout out to Zelda for having the stones to even do that.
That princess was my own daughter, my dear Zelda. And the courageous knight who protected her right up to the very end.
Was you, Link?
That knight was none other than you, Link.
Oh.
You fought valiantly when your fate took an unfortunate turn. And then, you were taken to the Shrine of Resurrection. Here you now stand, revitalized 100 years later.
Was I so wounded that it took me 100 years to get better? Damn. Ganon must hit me with some crazy stuff.
Even now, as she works to restrain Ganon from within Hyrule Castle, she calls out for your help. However, my daughter's power will soon be exhausted. Once that happens,
How soon?
Ganon will freely regenerate himself, and nothing will stop him from consuming our land. Considering that I could not save my own kingdom, I have no right to ask this of you, Link. But I am powerless here.
Right.
You must save her, my daughter, and do whatever it takes to annihilate Ganon.
I will, bro. I will.
Somehow, Ganon has maintained control over all 4 divine beasts, as well as those guardians swarming around Hyrule Castle.
Oh, that's why they tried to attack me.
I believe it would be quite reckless for you to head directly to the castle at this point.
But I could. Right?
I suggest that you make your way east out to one of the villages in the wilderness. Follow the road out to Kakariko Village.
Kakariko Village, okay.
There you will find the Elder Impa. She will tell you more about the path that lies ahead. Consult the map on your Sheikah slate for the precise location of Kakariko Village.
Yo, it's so funny when they say consult the tablet. It kind of takes me out of the story a little bit. It's like
there, follow the road as it
they use this ancient technology here. All right, so that was quite that lore heavy bomb drop. Go on. Here's the paraglider, just as I promised. Let's go, y'all. We got the paraglider, and now we can finally continue our journey. But unfortunately, our journey here ends for today. But when we come back, I think I'm talking like a YouTuber. When we come back, everybody, we will take on Kakariko Village and continue the story to find out how Link can save the world.